So Trump tweeted this earlier today, and it caused a mainstream media meltdown. So he wrote, with universal mail-in voting, not absentee voting, which is good, 2020 will be the most inaccurate and fraudulent election in history. It will be a great embarrassment to the USA. Delay the election until people can properly, securely, and safely vote, question mark, question mark, question mark. And simply, from Trump, asking the question, if possibly we should postpone the election until we can securely and safely vote. This caused just a mainstream media meltdown. Of course, this tweet morphed into not Trump asking a question, but Trump making a declarative statement that he is going to postpone the election, like the evil orange tyrant that he is. So I want to go over the media's coverage of this, and they basically attacked this tweet in twofold. Number one, there's no such thing as mail-in voting fraud. And number two, Trump does not have the authority to postpone the election. And I want to push back on both of those claims. So first off, this crazy idea that there's no such thing as mail-in voting fraud, that is fraud in and of itself. The media is in denial if they are not admitting that there is widespread mail-in voting fraud. And we've seen this because for the most part, we've never had large-scale mail-in voting up until recently. Now that we're in the midst of a pandemic, we're seeing mail-in voting implemented on a larger scale. Most recently, let's take a look at what happened in New Jersey. New Jersey was a state where they implemented statewide mail-in voting. So let's take a look at the results of what happened there. Let's take a look. So here's the article from Real Clear Politics. 1 in 5 ballots rejected as fraud is charged in New Jersey mail-in election. Wow, 20%. And you think about how much of an astronomical number that is, when in most elections, especially close ones, the winner is decided by just a few percentage points, and you have 20% have been ruled as fraudulent ballots. I mean, it's just a crazy, outstanding number. And just the fact that even a month or two ago, it just shows Twitter's bias. They put a little fact check mark next to Donald Trump's tweet because he said mail-in voting is linked to fraud. I mean, it is. And if you don't believe it, just read further into this article. It's absolutely nuts. And then the second part of that tweet, or the second part of the response to that tweet that we've seen from companies like CNN, that Trump floats delaying election despite lack of authority to do so. I'd push back on this. So let's take a look at right here. The National Security and Homeland Security Presidential Directive, otherwise known as Directive 51. Directive 51 for short. And right here, Directive 51 outlines right here, in the event of a catastrophic emergency, and then they go on to define what a catastrophic emergency is, extraordinary levels of mass casualties, damage, disruption severely affecting the U.S. population, infrastructure, environment, economy, or government functions. So what I would point out here is, in the event of a catastrophic emergency, and then they go on to define it, I would think that COVID, this deadly pandemic that we're all experiencing, that we shut down the entire country for, the whole reason that it is so unsafe to go vote in person, that you need to vote by mail because it's just so deadly, I would think that would qualify as a catastrophic emergency. And then we go on right here to read on the details right here. The presidential directive defines national essential functions. Well, as we know, look, I'm not a lawyer, but these things are open to interpretation. And I am just a random guy on YouTube that understands English, so I am just giving you my best interpretation of this from the English in which I'm reading and understanding. So national essential functions, I think that there is an argument that you could make to say that a presidential election is a national essential function. So if we tie all this together, in the event of a catastrophic emergency, which is COVID, the president has directives over national essential functions, which could be presidential elections, which could be elections, right? So that's my argument right there. That is my argument that this could definitely, I'm sure this would definitely be litigated in court. I mean, you would expect the Democrats to, of course, push back on this. I mean, they are fighting tooth and nail for mail-in for mail-in voting, and they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that there is nationwide mail-in voting. But there is your argument for how the president could possibly postpone the election in the event of a catastrophic emergency, which is COVID. The president has directives over national essential functions, which could be an election. There's your argument. That's all. Just throwing that out there. Anyway, hope you like my video. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe, and I will see you all next time.